we're going to pivot to unexpected final season watch. You want to play that game with me?
Let's do it.
So here's the point of this game. This happens every year. Sometimes you just don't realize, oh, this guy's time is about to come to an end in City X or Team X or whatever. And it's like, I should have realized that in the moment, but I didn't. But so anyway, I'm going to throw some names at you. Unexpected final season watch, meaning this was their final season. We didn't realize it in time. Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz. Scale of 1 to 10. How surprised would you be if he's in another uniform in November?
Surprise scale?
Yeah. 10 is most surprised. 1 is least. Oh, no. Is 10 least surprised? 1's most surprised?
Oh, I'd say let's keep it 10 big surprised.
10 most surprised. Okay. So 1 is least surprised. Donovan Mitchell on a different team next year.
1.
1 is least surprised.
I think if you had to do a fantasy draft of guys most likely to be somewhere else, he might be the first pick. I mean,
That's
look,
great.
the rumblings have been going on forever, and I think this is a very important season for Utah.
I've just audibled the idea. We're now doing a draft. So Donovan Mitchell is your first pick.
Yes. Yeah, seriously, if you were giving me the league on like the next guy that matters, right? That's really important, that's good, that everybody else would want. Yeah, I would take him first.
I like it.
Okay, what do you think of that though? Like, would you take somebody else first?
I would also take him first. I think, look, we're betting on the recent history of the league. And every year, the recent history of the league is Superstar X decides he doesn't want to be somewhere and it ends way faster than you think. And in this case, there are some teams that could, do some pretty big ass packages. You also have Danny Ainge there. I think they'll try to trade Gobert first, but they will not bring this team back. Like this team now is like, it reminds me of those mid 2010s Clippers teams where it's like, all right, this is done. Like this is not broken. There's no
because it sucks because they actually, when they're healthy, they're still a pretty good team. And I really liked what I saw in the Milwaukee loss at home a few weeks back. I was like, what? I know. I'm a pushover sometimes when I just like what I see as opposed to the results. The Ainge part, I don't know what it means. I would say Utah's been pretty aggressive trying to make sure it is as catered to Donovan Mitchell as it can possibly be with some of the hires that I've heard about potentially. But, I don't really know if any of that stuff's going to work out. And I don't know, maybe if you went to him and said, what if we get rid of Gobert first? And I'm not even talking about them not getting along. Just, hey, let's change it up. He's an asset. Can we figure something else out here? And I'm not even talking about the dynamic between the two of them. Just, hey, we lose in the first round or whatever. If that happens, hey, do we have to do something different, coach? I imagine they're going to exhaust every possible way to see which direction he has to go. But if you want to get your way, you got to be tough about it. You can't do the Dame Lillard thing where you're still not sure because you don't want to, you don't want to piss off the city. The KG thing, like KG, it took forever for him to finally be like, all right.
Yeah, he was like, he took 3 years too long. So Danny, the history of this with him is he did this with Paul Pierce in 2005. He had the trade lined up with Portland. He was going to trade for I think it was the number 3 pick in the draft before they traded back and took Martell Webster. And Pierce found out about it and his whole team threw his body in front of it and ended up staying. But that trade was going to happen. It was going to be Pierce and the Celtics were going to get Chris Paul and they were going to reboot. Danny in 2013, same thing. He felt like something had come to an end with Pierce and Garnett and Doc and all those guys, and he rebooted. Like he will reboot if he has to. And depending on how much of a say he has with Utah, which I think he does, if he's looking at this Mitchell thing and he's like, this guy's not going to be happy here. He's probably going to leave at the end of his next contract. Let's just pounce now, and we'll get this guy back. And I like this guy, and we could get this top pick or whatever it is. I think he'll convince him to do it. And then the other piece of it is if Mitchell just says, "Get me out of here," which who knows? I think you'd be careful because those fans are pretty passionate. But
he's still under contract for a while here too. Like the extension is new here. So,
right. So it's like 4 years, but as you've said on this podcast and on your podcast, like the length doesn't matter anymore.
No, it doesn't matter anymore. I know.
Guy wants out, they're getting out.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, if Mitchell doesn't make All-NBA, that can speed this up. Because he's just like, wow, we're a 6 seed. Nobody talks about our team. Nobody thinks we have any real upside. And on top of all this, I'm not even an All-NBA player. I need to go to a bigger market. Could happen.
Would you do Jaylen Brown and Grant Williams and Pritchard seasoning?
Stop. Not touching my Jays.
Okay.
No, I think I think the Knicks would overpay for him. I do.
With what?
I think they would go RJ and lots of picks.
Oh, you think they'd move RJ for him?
I do. I have no inside info.
It's usually not how those trades work out. Have you checked out any Randall games in New York? That doesn't get nearly enough attention for how checked out he is. Like
I don't understand what happened with that. Like, why did he re-up there? And like, what happened to like break it?
Because it was just the money. I mean, it's a good thing he did re-up when he did, because if he were hitting the market,
be a disaster. All right, my first pick for don't be surprised if this is suddenly their last season.
I love what this has turned into.
My first pick is DeAndre Ayton of the Phoenix Suns.
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah, thanks. I think they sniffed around before the season started. I think they sniffed around near the deadline, and I am not convinced that team is going to pay for like 3 2/3 max guys in the same season. I don't see it. So I think I could see a move where they move him and get a cheaper option back and some other stuff and point to like, look at all these other teams that like just get like a 10 and 10 from their center. And it's really about the perimeter guys, and they'll spin it however they want. That would be my first pick.
Okay. I'm going to give you some props here. You've been very good on the Ayton stuff.
Thank you.
Where I thought like, okay, fine. They didn't want to do what Denver did, which was a much bigger risk with Michael Porter Jr., considering all the red medical flags that he had coming out, where I've been like, well, if the team doesn't have to do it, they don't have to do it. And then if he gets an offer somewhere else and they just go ahead and match it, and they did him a favor because it's a shorter term deal. So whatever, like Sarver's the cheapest. He shouldn't own a basketball team for a million different reasons. This has been covered on and on again. So I just thought like, whatever, like I almost thought you were being a little dramatic about it, but it's gone in your direction the entire time. So now I have much more of an open mind for Sarver in particular, and because your information has been very good on this. And by the way, side note, more praise. It's not about Grantland. You've been good on the Brady stuff, Arians, the expansion.
Thank you.
Brady's retirement and the unretirement.
You said I'm on a hot streak?
You're doing well, man.
We're going to bring in a third person to be in our unexpected final season watch draft. Who doesn't know he's in the draft? Russillo went first. He took Donovan Mitchell. I went second. I took DeAndre Ayton. Now you're up. First round. You could have anybody that all of a sudden this guy could be on a different team next year and you wouldn't be shocked. Who is it?
Oh, wow. Right on the spot. Jimmy Butler.
Wait. I had him on my board.
Wow.
What we saw over the last couple of weeks, at some point, Pat Riley is like, I've had enough of the bullshit.
What do you think of that, Russillo?
I feel like the Heat are going to be in the NBA Finals. I'm going to go, I still don't see it.
I'm there right now. Did you see the Vic Oladipo 21 points coming tonight?
He lit it up today,
Unbelievable.
Man. He looked great.
Yeah, it's funny. A week ago, the Heat looked dead. Today, Oladipo looked like he's going to be this massive X factor for them. I don't know what happened with Max Strus either. And now you could give me any scenario for Miami, I would believe it. I love the Butler pick because if things go south for them and him this year, he's got this huge extension coming up. He would make 37.6 this year, but then 45, 48, and 52 all the way through 2026. I bring this up only because that could be the Westbrook trade. If it like went so south, it went just to the darkest place possible. And they're like, we got to trade Jimmy Butler. And everyone's afraid to take on that contract. Now you're looking at like the Westbrook type of contracts to whatever. You don't
mean Westbrook. You don't mean Westbrook for Butler. You mean a similar scenario because Miami's not doing something like that.
I'm saying Westbrook just taking that contract to get out. I'm saying worst case scenario, like the Butler thing. It is an absolute. It ends up in flames, and they have outs. You're talking about big contracts, and I don't know where that would be.
And by the way, Oladipo's looked terrible for the most part. Like his numbers weren't very good. I would say athletically, Oladipo. I don't know where we're going to see prime athletic Oladipo. He was terrific today against Toronto.
So you're saying
seventh game back. So let's see what happens. But finally, we saw something really good because the other games hadn't been that good.
What's interesting about him as a playoff guy is he could just, if he's like their seventh man 2 times in a playoff series, the guy could, win them a half.
Yeah.
Who do you have? Who are you picking next, Russillo?
Okay. A lot of good options here still on the board. Love all the options. I almost want to make a Harden joke here and take him. But I'll hold off the comedy routine here for later rounds. Give me Zion.
Amazing.
So there's been some Zion. He lost some weight. The Pelicans are looking good. I've even seen a couple tweets about David Griffin's turned this thing around.
He's on the road trip, by the way. There was rumblings. What does this mean?
It's back. They're back. It's like Ben Affleck and J-Lo, Griffin and the Pelicans. He would have been my next pick, Russillo.
I wholeheartedly agree.
It would be the first time somebody got traded before their giant contract kicked in since we've had like the maxes and all that stuff. So it would make history if that happened.
When we did a preview this summer, I said, as much as I love him, let's not forget, after Duke gets eliminated, it felt like everybody was rooting for North Carolina Saturday night because it was one of the great games ever. Zion, I was rooting for Duke. I loved him that much. That's how much I didn't want to stop seeing him play. Like Zion did the impossible. He got people that were just casual fans to like root for a team that everybody roots against. So I still want to see it work out. But even going back to last summer, guys, I remember thinking like you have to have some really hard conversations if you're David Griffin and maybe do something unprecedented here because he doesn't want to be there. It's very clear. This season's been another mess. I don't understand him releasing the photo of him dunking as if it's almost to say like, I am ready to go. Which is like, well, wait, dude, every indication any of us got that had any information on this is that there's been this massive disconnect the whole time, which is backed up by the CJ McCollum All-Star break interview where he was like, I haven't even talked to him, what CJ specifically did for a reason to kind of like get that out and maybe rattle the cage a bit for Zion and be like, you need to be professionals here and figure this kind of stuff out. I wouldn't want to give him the extension knowing that almost every team just would.
Yeah.
So,
well, also, if you think like, you got Jonas and you have CJ and you have Ingram and you like some of your young guys. You have all these picks coming. Maybe you turn Zion into one more awesome player and you're fine anyway. I'm just going to go chalk. Gobert is the best guy on the board. He's the best asset. He's the most likely trade. He should have gone sooner, but it's just not fun to take him in the top 4. But now it's like you're just looking at it going, all right, I'd twist my arm. I'll take Rudy Gobert. If Mitchell stays on Utah, Gobert is on another team next year. So I don't even think we need to talk about that. House, who do you have for your pick?
I really, really, really want to say LeBron James because I absolutely adore the narrative of him and Clutch saying, oh, you think you got us, LA? Suck on this. And they all pick up and they evacuate. They all go home. They laid the foundation to be going home to Cleveland. I just can't get there because I feel like L.A. is where LeBron in his heart wants to be. He believes he's a Hollywood star and he's not going to abandon it so quickly. So I will say Kyrie. I think now I don't have a great answer for what they get in return for him, but the experience of having a player, it's very funny for Brooklyn. They have a player who chose to not play any regular season games this whole season, and then a player who could only play at most half the games this past regular season. Somebody that's going to play. I think KD has the right to ask for somebody who will come play basketball with him in Brooklyn.
What are they, like 17 and 23 at home or 17 and 21 at home, something like that? I got to say, I don't think Kyrie leaves. I think him and Durant have this insane bond that I don't fully understand. Really seems like those guys like genuinely love each other. They like in a really unique basketball way that almost like what LeBron and Wade were like there for a while. They really seem like they're just aligned. So I don't know. I don't know how that plays out. But I thought that was a very good pick. Any thoughts on that, Russillo?
If he declines the player option, he's eligible for 5 years, about $250 million.
He's not getting that.
What if Durant's like you're giving it to him? I really think that front offices now, they look at it, and it's the same thing as the Harden thing. Harden, I think at 2027 is going to eclipse 60 million on whatever the new format of his extension would be, which I also think is kind of a weird thing too, because there was like a deadline there that he missed. And I was going back and reading some of the stuff he said, but you're never going to hold coaches and players accountable to saying that this is where they want to stay and they never want to leave. But like the back end numbers of Harden are scary as hell. Giving Kyrie $250 million makes 0 sense. But I feel like the teams operate with, you know what? We got to spend the money on somebody. So if it's a 2-year window that's absurd at the back end, we'll just do it. And I think that's what teams do.
I don't think you can do it with Kyrie. I don't know who you're bidding against.
What if Durant says you're doing it?
They say,
you're right.
Look, but they say, Kevin, you're under contract for the next few years and we're not doing it. And if you want to get upset about that, we're pretty sure the Nets fan base is probably on our side that we can't give this guy $250 million who played 20 games this year. Sorry. Russillo, you're up.
All right.
I can't wait for this pick. There's some good ones left.
Really are. Board stacked. I know who everybody wants me to pick here. I just don't think I'm going to pick him.
Marcus Smart?
No. Smart's terrific now.
No, I know. He's fucking awesome.
I'm not going to go off the board. I'm not going to do something silly here. I'll do it just because it's the best odds, but I'm not going to say I don't know what's going to happen because I don't have any information on it. But the fact that Anthony Davis has been circulated as a potential trade piece tells you that I think Team LeBron is maybe throwing that out there. Not LeBron himself, but other people are throwing it out there to kind of like take a temperature on what that is. Now, the problem is it's what do you believe? Because I've heard people say, oh, what are you going to get for Anthony Davis at this point? I think that's wrong. I think there'd be other teams that go, hey, we get him in here. We make him the focal point of the second half of his career. We get we get nutrition, training, all this shit. We get it right. We get him away from LA and all this stuff. He is an impressionable guy. So like in a good way, he probably will adapt to whatever it is that you want from him. But the assets have to be really special, even if you think his value's diminished, because you're still figuring this thing out on the fly and you're not going to get draft picks and young maybes back for Anthony Davis. So this trade for Davis in a normal NBA landscape, we already know what the pieces are. LeBron's not going to want any of those. He's going to want real guys coming back. So it complicates it. So yeah. I take him as a value pick, but there's a lot of arguments against it happening.
It'd be interesting if, like this trade wouldn't happen, but it's something like Ayton and Mikal Bridges and other stuff for Davis, but Phoenix isn't doing that. But that's what you would need, like these two big chess pieces back for him that LeBron could win with right away. I think the Knicks would overpay for him. I think the Knicks are ready to dive in this summer. That's my take. I think they're...
Who's the most attractive player from the Knicks, though? Who do you want from the Knicks?
Listen, the Knicks fans love RJ, and they should. RJ's been really good, and I have Knicks fans in my life who was like, RJ's untradeable. Like, if we're going to do trades, Julius...
RJ's untradeable.
Julius, our guards, and you can have 7 of our picks, but we're not trading Randall. We're not trading RJ. We need RJ.
He's tradable.
The Knicks fans who watch the Knicks are all in on RJ. And I
like RJ. If you just look at the metrics, you're not going to love it, but I do think that RJ turned some kind of career corner the last couple months.
He's a kid.
Yeah, I'm into RJ. But normally these trades, just if we go back in history, but that's why the Davis thing is complicated. We're not going to solve your problem. You know what I mean? So RJ plays with whatever we bring back. Yeah. We don't trade you a player for your guy. We just give you a bunch of maybes.
I am taking with my next pick, just because I can't believe he's still on the board, James Harden of the Philadelphia 76ers. It's just good value.
It is.
You get the guy who quit on his team twice in 13 months. Who knows how terrible this playoffs could go for him and them? I have no idea. It does allow me to ask you guys about the Philly sliding doors. Kyle, turn the camera. If Philly just trades Ben Simmons 2 months ago for CJ McCollum, are they much better off? Russillo, you go first.
We all know the trade was out there forever. I'm a CJ fan. I still think peak CJ isn't peak Harden, but I don't like when's it going to like click? When's it going to happen?
Does peak Harden exist?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. He's got two major issues right now. He doesn't move all that well, and he doesn't finish at the rim. He's basically the worst at the rim since he was a rookie. And he still has his moments. He's always going to put up numbers because he's good. And the other thing they're doing too, like there's a lot of possessions. They may not fall into the isolation category for him, but there's a lot of these possessions where it's like, hey, we're just going to watch you dribble here for 20 seconds, man.
Well, and they can run the pick and roll when the basket's being protected by Lauri Markkanen. But when we get to the actual playoffs, that's going to be a little different. House, door A is James Harden and DeAndre Jordan. Door B is CJ McCollum, Andre Drummond, Seth Curry, and 2 first-round picks. Which door do you like? Which door do you want to walk through?
It's definitely door B. It's door B. I mean, we know this because the single thing to me that's been the true brilliance of the trade from Brooklyn's point of view is what it did to the depth of Philadelphia and how important that depth was.
Yeah,
for the Sixers. I mean, they have nothing off the bench. They have nothing off the bench.
Daryl hate depth, Bill?
No, I was talking about this with somebody this weekend. Daryl, one of the smartest guys I've befriended over the years, really, really Spock, old Star Trek reference for the people under 25. He's a Vulcan 55. Who had no human emotion.
Is it a compliment?
No, he took emotion out of all of his decisions. He looked at it as rationally and analytically as possible. And I think James Harden was his kind of kryptonite because I think he had a great relationship with the guy. And I think he was with him in Houston when Harden was fucking incredible. And I think he assumed that Harden was unhappy that last Houston season, that he was unhappy in Brooklyn, and that when he came to Philly, he was going to blossom into the old James Harden, but I think that guy might be gone. And he's still good. He's still one of the 30 best guys in the league. But I think they thought they were getting the guy. Like when we did the one of the podcasts right around the trade, and KOC was like, I'm all in on this trade. And by the way, I think he was right. He's like, they're getting James fucking Harden. James Harden's amazing. Like, you have to do this trade every time. And I was like, yeah, but what if that guy's gone? Like that was a real question that we were wondering. Is that guy still there? I haven't seen from these Brooklyn games the 2018 Harden is gone. This version of Harden's good. But that guy's gone.
Yeah, he might be gone. I still like the trade because of the arguments around how much the Simmons value had declined. So I feel like I'm arguing both sides of this because I was like, okay, wait. Like people kept thinking like the longer this went. And by the way, that guy still hasn't played yet. As you said earlier, might not even play, which is kind of like,
I don't think he's playing this year.
But I will always have a problem. Here we go. I will always have a problem with a competitive athlete who's okay playing like shit on purpose twice in 13 months.
Me too. I think that's beyond a red flag.
Can you imagine Giannis going, I'm going to play like shit for a month? You didn't mention the playoff performance yet. There are 2 really big red flags with this guy. And we went over those, I think, 2 pods ago. Still got them right here.
I want a little bit of a Harden truther angle, though. Okay. What if he really has been injured? And what if the right grade to assign at this moment is just incomplete? Let's let him.
It's a good what if.
There's no point right now for us to render judgment on the value and quality of that trade. The playoffs start in 10 days. Let's see playoff James. Doesn't have a great track record. I understand. I concede it. But look, he's never played with a big man like Joel Embiid. And maybe some of this iteration of Philadelphia has been a bit of a chemistry experiment out of Doc. Again, not a guy with a great track record in terms of personnel and rotation.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying the grade for right now is incomplete. Let's let the playoffs begin.
I don't know. That part of the reason you make that trade is they don't want to squander this incredible Embiid season. but they created a team that I don't think the three of us feel like has a realistic chance to win 4 straight playoff rounds.
Are they in anyone's top 3 in the East right now?
No, I mean, you even go to FanDuel. I was looking at the East odds, and they were 5th in the East. You know, they were behind, Milwaukee plus 250, Brooklyn plus 360, which is crazy. Celtics plus 420, Miami plus 440, and Philly was 5-1.
I'll tell you what they did do. They beat the shit out of the Lauri Markkanen and Lamar Stevens, Ed Davis front line today.
They really did. That was
fucking worked him.
Listen, Harden might turn around. I'm just like, I think McCollum was better than I think he was getting credit for. And I think Harden might be a little worse than people are factoring in. Like, oh, he's just not happy in Brooklyn. Like, it went a little deeper than that. So we'll see. All right, we're going to end this draft with our apologies to the guys who didn't get drafted. Karl Anthony Towns.
He can't be drafted. He doesn't deserve to be drafted.
No, he played himself out of the draft. It was a great job. He would have been a top 3 pick the last 3 years.
He came back for his junior season.
Dame Lillard, too easy. I don't feel like it's unexpected if he gets traded. I would say I would expect it more than I would unexpect it.
Wait, this didn't turn into a surprise draft, though. Then he should have been taken.
No, we said unexpected final season. It was unexpected that this was their final season. I don't think it's unexpected that this would be Dame's final season.
On the ones we thought were most likely, didn't we?
Most likely that it's also be unexpected.
What were the rules again?